In this video, I'm going to talk about how the new rich in this new era are making FU money. In fact, after coaching 300 plus business owners over the past several years, there's one common thing that I'm starting to actually discover that a lot of the most successful entrepreneurs and business owners have today, and that's leverage. Now, stick with me until the end of this video because I'm actually going to break down why this leverage or this new form of leverage with AI is the path for you to actually make the 50K, 75K, 100K plus per month that you see online. Now, here's one of the biggest things that I've realized through my 6+ years of entrepreneurship. Oftentimes, when you're first starting out, or you're maybe in your first few years of entrepreneurship, you're actually coming with the lowest form of leverage, which is labor, right? Naval Ravikant actually says that the newest form in wealthy generation is going to be operating at the most highest form of leverage, which is code. So labor compared to code. Now, what is code to define for you real quick? Well, code is things like software, right? It's things that people who know how to use programming. It's things like AI. Because let me take you back to a time I used to work for a company called Salesforce, one of the biggest tech companies over the past 20 years, right? The reason why Salesforce really had this huge rise was because Mark Benioff realized that software, or AKA the cloud, was the newest, biggest things during the 2000s era. Well, guess what ended up happening 20 years later? Well, he is a multi-billion-dollar tech company that has really paved the way for this whole software as a service industry. So what can we learn from Mark and this idea of leverage? Well, let's think about it. If software was the theme of the past 10, 20 plus years, what's the new theme for the next 20, the next decade? It's AI, right? This is the newest and highest form of leverage today. And I know what you're thinking. Well, AI, is it overhyped? Is it a bubble? Is it oversaturated? And I'm going to tell you right now that we're just beginning. In fact, we're in New York City right now, and I was actually putting on a client event with this room of over 25 CROs, Chief Revenue Officers. So we're talking people who are C-level executives for 8-figure and even 9-figure companies. In fact, one of the old CROs was for VMware, which was a really huge tech company. So I was talking with these guys in this room, and I had this conversation where this guy went to me and I asked him, because he was working in an AI company, I asked him, hey, are we entering the mainstream with AI yet? Have we crossed the chasm of sorts? Are we at this point where we're actually at that moment where we can actually really start capitalizing with AI? And here's what he had to tell me. He said, Larry, I'm telling you right now, we haven't even begun with this new wave, with this new trend. In fact, if you're watching this in 2025, you're still early. And so what does that actually mean for you? Well, if we know there's this transition of sorts happening, we're going from the old era to the new era in this transfer of leverage, then if you want to make FU money, if you want to actually become rich and make generational wealth, you want to position yourself in the middle of riding this wave. Because those who spot trends early are the ones that make the real money during this new shift. So I'm going to talk about in this video, how do we actually make that shift within our own business, or if you're a beginner or someone who's a newbie, how do I actually just make money with this trend? So here's what I'd actually do if I was to start over in let's say day one of being an entrepreneur. Well, first thing I'd probably do is figure out a problem that I can solve. So if you're writing down notes, write down, what is a problem that I can actually solve with AI? Because the biggest mistakes that I often see, and I made this mistake early on in my journey, is I chased shiny objects, things that were novel or looked cool, or things that were maybe sounded great in my head, but there wasn't an actual market demand for it. So if there's no problem and there's no market demand, there's no way to actually make money with a business, whether it's online or whatever you do. There's not going to be an actual path to actually extract value from that. So first things first, figure out a problem that you can actually solve. My biggest thing is I'd probably go in ChatGPT, right? And actually just figure out and prompt. And there's a couple engineering and prompts that we can actually share with you inside of my free school group. So if you're not inside there, go inside there. We actually have some tools on how I go about this process. There's actually training in there to do that. But long story short, what you actually want to figure out is how can I align not just my problem that the market wants, but then an actual skill set? So I would go into ChatGPT, figure out like what are the most common problems that businesses need to solve, right? Whether it's more leads, they need someone to actually create content, whether it's someone to help them streamline the client delivery and help them save time in operations with AI automation. There's all sorts of different problems that business owners want to actually solve. Now it's about, again, positioning yourself to be the person that helps solve that problem, that bridge of sorts to get to where they actually want to be, where they're actually now, where they want to be. What is the problem that they're going to solve using AI? So that's number one. Make sure that you actually have a problem that you can solve easily and, most importantly, efficiently with AI. So from the problem, what's number two? Well, we want to actually align something what I call market skill set fit. Market skill set fit. So if you've been kind of in the online space before or thinking about entrepreneurship, a lot of the times you hear about product market fit, which is finding a market, creating a solution, and combining those together. Now, while that's great, and that's what we talked about in that first phase, the second phase is also a secondary, which is you got to actually be good at what you do. So if you're not good, if you don't actually have a skill set, for example, if you want to solve the problem of creating content for a business, you actually have to have a skill set of creating great content, right? If you're someone who's maybe more analytical, or you're someone who's just maybe more great on kind of like the client delivery or admin side of things, then you probably don't want to be solving a content problem if you have, let's say, a admin skill set, right? So we got to actually align both the market, the skill set, and make sure all of those things combine. So if I was, back in my 22-year-old self when I was starting business, I would actually take a list, and you can even use ChatGPT to help you kind of think through these things. But I asked myself, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are the things that I would naturally just do even if I wasn't paid, because I have this like genuine curiosity and passion for it, right? And make sure it's something that I'm actually good at that people will pay for. So for me, when I first started out, I was actually just really good at sales. I actually was a sales rep at companies like MindBody and Salesforce prior to starting my business. So I wanted to figure out a business when I launched it that I could help solve sales problems. Because I already had about 1 to 2 years of sales experience, it was a lot easier for me to transition and have these clients use my skill set of sales, right? If you're someone who might be really good at, let's say, marketing, or you're really good at copywriting, then you might want to figure out a way on how to take that skill set and really just amplify it with AI. So this is really the second piece, is like once we get really clear on our actual skill set, how then can I start going through a process of creating a process or system for my clients to actually extract that skill set? So that's number three, is once we have the problem figured out, once we have the skill set figured out, the third thing is creating a system or process that's amplified by AI. So again, let's think back to the beginning of this video. Leverage, leverage, leverage. That's really the name of the game. Anytime I'm thinking about how do I create more leverage, not just for myself, but for other people's businesses, the new way to do that in this new era is actually by using AI. So there's different automation tools all across the board that you can start using. For example, Midjourney is a great AI tool that allows you to create AI-generated photos and even videos now with things like Sora, right? So if I'm going to go in the content realm, I want to figure out different tools that I can use. So let's get even a little bit more specific at certain ideas that I've seen some of my colleagues make. Right now, obviously, if you're watching this, YouTube is a huge thing that a lot of business owners want. So that's a problem that business owners want to solve. If you're really good at creating content or really helping package up different ways for business owners to solve that problem of content, then you might want to start specializing in helping them create YouTube videos. But at the same time, I don't want to just be manually doing these things, because that will take hours. So the old tools, when you think about software and you think about even just manual editing, that takes time. So the way for you to deliver value, what might have taken you 10, 20, 30 hours to deliver an outcome, you'd actually cut that into a fraction using AI tools. So we take 10 hours into, let's say, maybe 1 hour of process. If we do the math, if we have things that used to take 10 hours for one client, if we can take that from 10 hours to 1 hour, we can do, in the time that would take us for one client, we can do that with now 10 clients. So now you're giving yourself 10x leverage. You've done things faster. You can produce more work. You can actually serve more clients. And what might have taken you $1,000 to produce, now you can make $10,000 doing that in the same amount of time with AI. So that's how I want to start thinking about leverage. That's how I want to think about AI automation. That's how I want to even start thinking about things like AI agents of these autonomous digital employees and workers to help me become like almost these assistants inside of my process or AI system. In fact, that's how we create these videos. Is my process right now is we take a video like this, a long form video, use a tool like Opus to actually create reels from it, right? So we take one video, create 10 reels from that process, and then I might actually use AI scripters like Claude or ChatGPT to help me create those scripts for a client if I was going to do this as my business. Because I'm doing it for my own business, I'm not doing it for others. But inside of my own business, what used to literally take me an hour, 2 hours to script like 10 reels, we're doing that in 15 minutes. So that's the power of AI, is now I can create content not just quantity, but also with quality. That's the key and kind of the hack that you want to really start thinking about when it comes to AI. Because I want to end this video with an analogy for you, right? We've talked about three things now: the problem, the skill set, and the actual AI system. When you combine those things together, that's how you can start making a 10, 20, 30, 50K plus per month business using AI. In fact, if you're already, let's say, a business who's making good money with what you're currently doing, if you just start thinking about how do I create leverage, 2xing, 3xing, 5xing what I'm currently doing with AI, your revenue, your sales will actually fall. In fact, that's what we found in my own business and my own clients' businesses. We took a sales team that was generally about $60,000 to $70,000 per month. We took them to $323,000 a month in literally 90 days, all because of AI systems, specifically in sales for that one client. So how do I think about AI? This is the analogy I want to leave you with. We got to think about this like a chef, right? All these AI tools are just simple ingredients. ChatGPT, Claude, Midjourney, Opus, these are all just different ingredients in the actual full course meal that I want to create. If what I want to be doing is actually creating something that people will be left satisfied, happy, and be left being like, oh wow, I've never had a meal like that, this is new. You got to learn how to put all the ingredients in the right order while also being like a great chef, adding your own mix, your own flavor, your own pizzazz to that dish that leaves the impression of, wow, that is the Larry meal. That is the Larry AI meal, right? Because at the end of the day, when you start putting your own style to a system and you're not just like copying and pasting different recipes, that's how you gain your unfair edge. That's how you leave a memorable experience and really just outcompete the 95, 99% of your other competitors. So that's really the key. Start playing around and experiment with these different ingredients, then start creating your own recipes in addition to what's already proven, and that's where the magic happens. So that being said, that's for today's video. Remember, if you haven't already subscribed to this actual channel, go ahead and subscribe. I have different videos like this, different training like this as well. In fact, there's actually a free AI mini course in the description below. There's 1,000 other business owners inside this community right now that I'm actually hosting inside of school. If you don't have access to that course already, just drop that link and my team and I will get you access to that instantly. So with that being said, thanks for your attention. Larry Antaporta, aka Sales Sensei, sayonara, and see you in the next one.